Ziavar Singh was the owner of a huge property. He had one and only son. His name was Apurva Singh. Since childhood, Apurva Singh was very courageous and intelligent. He had a white horse. With lot of love, he had named him as Teja. The prince used to often stand along with Teja and talk to him. He also used to ride on Teja and used to roam around the jungles, mountains and lakes. One day, while he was returning back from the jungle, he realized that he had lost the path. Also, suddenly the speed of the horse reduced. It was a dark night. Hence, Apurva Singh was quite worried. He was also worried because he had never seen Teja walking so slow till today. Soon, the prince understood that there was something wrong ahead. Hence, waiting was the only option for him. While sitting on the horse, he was looking around to find a clue that what will help him to know why Teja started walking so slowly suddenly. Soon then, he saw a bright light in front of him. He got down from the horse and started walking towards the jungle along with the horse. He tied the horse with a tree and went a little far and sat under the tree holding his breath. Soon then he saw something strange. He saw that a group of fairies came and stood in front of him. All the fairies had golden hair. Their eyes were blue and the feathers were all of different colors. They were holding magical stick. The fairy with the red feathers was very beautiful, but all the fairies were looking very sad. One of the fairy laid a sheet on the ground with her stick. There was bright light all over the place. All the fairies sat on the sheet on the ground. The fairy with the golden feathers said that if we are not successful in getting our crowns back till morning, then we will lose the magical powers of our stick and we will have to live on the earth. The fairy with the blue feathers said, to do this work, we need the help of a brave man. Only he can bring our crown back from the devil's palace. Prince Apurva Singh heard their conversation and came out and stood in front of them. He greeted the fairies with great respect and said,
My name is Apurva Singh. I lost my path in the jungle and was trying to find my way out. I got a sign of relief when I saw you all. Please let me know if I can be of any help to you guys.
Initially, the fairies got a little stunned to see him. However, after talking to him, they got to know that he is a prince, and then they got relieved. Golden Fairy came and told him that we all are from a fairy land. However, a devil has snatched their crowns, and without the crown, they won't be able to go back to their own land. To this, the prince said,
Please tell me, how did you guys reach the devil's palace?
The fairy said, we saw a garden full with beautiful flowers. Hence, we came down on the garden. Initially, we enjoyed a lot in the garden because it was extremely beautiful. We were not even aware that it was a garden of the devil Krur Singh. After some time, we went into the palace, and after that, we heard a heavy noise of someone's feet, as if someone was coming inside. We got scared. We all had to hide immediately, and we saw it was the devil. He shouted aloud,
Who is it?
We did not say anything. But after a few minutes, he found us all. As soon as he saw our crowns, he was surprised and said,
How dare you come inside my palace without my permission? Why have you come here?
Before even we could say anything, he took all our crowns, one by one. And the moment he turned the other side to keep the crowns, we ran away from the back door. We all had our sticks. However, we could not bring our crowns back. We immediately sat on our flying machine and came here. But if we don't get our crowns back, then we will lose the power of our sticks, and we will not be able to go back to our fairy land. Prince Apurva Singh kept thinking. He said,
My palace is just close by. I will go with my soldiers in the palace of the devil and get your crowns back.
Fairies agreed to it and said, "You carry on, we shall follow you." Prince Apurva Singh sat on his horse and left for the palace. Now, the fairies were also along with her, hence he was not afraid. The fairies as well sat on their flying machine and started following the prince. Prince reached his palace and the flying machine of the fairies also reached the terrace of the palace. The prince went inside and explained everything to his father. The king permitted the prince and asked him to go to the devil's palace along with the soldiers and get the crown back. But he said, "You need to remember one thing. You should not take too long to complete this task." The prince agreed to his father and started following his instructions. On the other hand, the fairies came inside the palace. They all were welcomed in the palace with great respect. The prince left for the jungle along with his soldiers. With the help of the burning torch, the entire path of the jungle was clearly seen. When they reached the devil's palace, they found that the devil was in deep sleep. The prince instructed all the soldiers to enter the palace from the back door. And along with one of the soldiers, the prince went inside the palace from the front door. He saw that the crowns of the fairies were lying on the stairs of the palace, and the crowns had beautiful stones and pearls on them. Prince Apurva Singh asked his soldier to pick up all the crowns and put them in the bag. Till then, he shall keep an eye on the devil. In case if he wakes up, he will kill him with his sword. The minute the soldier was putting the crowns in the bag, the devil Krur Singh changed his side while sleeping. He suddenly opened his eyes and got stunned. He immediately jumped and took away the bag from the soldier. Prince Apurva Singh was already ready to attack. He immediately attacked on the devil's leg. Soon then the other soldiers came inside the palace from the back door, and all of them attacked the devil together. One of the soldiers also put a hawk in the hands of the devil. They gathered all the crowns and started moving out of the palace. The devil Krur Singh kept shouting, asking them to at least tell him what was his fault. Prince Apurva Singh said,
"You can't even think what a big crime you have committed."
To this, Krur Singh said,
What crime have I done?
The prince replied that when the fairies had come in his palace, then why did he snatch their crowns? Krur Singh said, "Obviously, these crowns are so expensive. Why would he leave them like that?" The prince replied,
That since you have been greedy, so you have to pay for it now. Do you even know? It's really fortunate that the fairies come to our land. They come here very rarely, and they are our guests. We should welcome them with great respect so that they can come on our earth and spread happiness here. Now you will have to be imprisoned in this palace, and in case if a fairy comes here again and you behave with them respectfully, only then you can get free from this prison, else you will die here out of hunger and thirst.
After listening to this, Krur Singh got worried and said,
Please don't do this. My crime is not so big. You can take me to the fairies and I shall apologize to them.
After pleading a lot, Apurva Singh agreed to take him along. He took him along on his horse, and all of them left for the palace. After reaching the palace, when the fairies saw the wounds on Krur Singh, they saw the handcuffs in the hands of the devil. They got confident that their crowns are safe. They took their crowns from the bag and put them back on their head, and they got their magical powers back. The prince then asked the fairies that since they have got their crowns back now, so what punishment should be given to this devil? The devil started pleading in front of the fairies. He said,
Dear Queen Fairy, please forgive me. I was not aware that my greed will give you so much loss. I will never do such a thing again. From now on, whoever comes in my garden, I will take care of them completely. I will welcome them with respect and also give them place to stay in my palace. Please forgive me for once.
The hearts of the fairies melted and they decided to forgive the devil. Queen Fairy told the prince, Thank you very, very much. If you wouldn't have been there, we would have never got our crowns back. And we would have never been able to go back to our fairyland. We will never be able to repay this favor back to you. Please keep this flute with you. Whenever you need our help, you can play this flute and we shall come to help you. Soon then, the prince saw that the fairy with the red feathers was whispering something in the ears of the queen fairy. Maybe she was saying something about the prince. The prince walked up to the fairy with the red feathers and asked her,
"Will you accept me as your life partner?"
The fairy smiled and said, "I was taking the permission of the queen fairy for the same." Queen fairy agreed for the same with an open heart and said, "I shall leave the red fairy here. However, I have one condition. On every full moon day, we have a festival in our fairyland. You both will have to come and attend the same every year." Prince Apurva Singh happily agreed for the same and holded the hand of Red Fairy. He was not even aware that roaming in the jungle, being lost in the jungle, and Teja's slowness, all this had happened for a special objective. Red Fairy and the prince lived their life happily ever after.